So I have lamb shanks for you today. What I love about these is they're very easy to make. The pot does all the work, and they're inexpensive, opposed to if you were to roast maybe a leg of lamb that's quite pricey. If you don't like lamb, this will work with short ribs or anything that should be braised for a long time. There's not a lot of ingredients. It's pretty simple to do. Let's get started. All right, so we have all of our ingredients here, starting with our lamb shanks. These are about $4 a piece, so it's not too expensive. We've got bell pepper, onion, celery, carrot, garlic. These are going to be cooked down in some olive oil. They call it a sofrito. If I got rid of the bell pepper, to me it's just a mirepoix. I don't really care what you call it. I don't like to get hung up with names on things, but I did dice them pretty small here. Honestly, if I was in the restaurant doing this, I would just throw them into a food processor and pulse it until it gets about this size. You don't have to take the time to cut it up. I just took the time to cut it up like this so I could get some nice B-roll like you're seeing right now. Garlic cloves are gonna go in whole. We've got parsley, we've got canned tomatoes. These are San Marzanos. Not sure how much I needed. These are not San Marzanos, but they only had 2 cans at the store. Just want to make sure I had enough. Tomato paste, olive oil, salt, pepper, Chianti. Chianti is optional. Actually, most of this is optional. The only things you really need to make this are tomatoes, the lamb shanks, salt, and pepper. I'm going to be using this. Now, what I would recommend as far as a vessel to cook them in, if you have it, it's a cast iron Dutch oven with an enamel coating on the outside. I don't have one, so I'm going to be cooking it in the oven. We're going to cook down the vegetables in the olive oil, but you honestly don't have to do that. Throw it into the pan with some tomatoes or whatever stock you want. There you go. Oh, speaking of stock, I almost forgot. I am going to add vegetable stock to it also, but you don't have to. This right here is really all you need. I know it's gonna piss people off that I say it, but remember, you're cooking your own dish. You don't have to do it any specific way. That said, let's get started on the actual cooking. So we add our tomatoes to a bowl. I just use my hands to gently smash the tomatoes up a bit. If you have a food mill, that will work great for this. You could use a smooth tomato sauce, like a passata, or put everything in a blender or food processor, but I like it more on the rustic side, so a chunky sauce is good with me. At first here, we want to put a bit of color on the lamb. A little olive oil goes into a pot on medium-low heat. Let the pot heat up a bit. Off to the side, I'm seasoning the shanks with salt and pepper. Place the shanks down in the pot and let them sear on each side for a few minutes. They will stick at first, which is a good thing. Don't worry, they will release after a few minutes and will have some color on them. Repeat this on all sides until they have the desired color that you want on them. Once they're seared, remove them from the pot and set aside. Don't be afraid to add more oil to the pot here if you think you'll need it. We're going to add in our aromatics, and it's okay to add a little too much oil when making a sofrito, in my opinion. Stir it up well, and we are going to let this cook for about 5 to 10 minutes. When they are starting to turn translucent a little bit, go ahead and toss in the garlic whole. Diced is fine if that's how you want to go about it. Then we add tomato paste. This is a 6-ounce can here, and I used about 2/3 of it, but you can add the whole can if you want. It'll be fine. Mix that in very well. Let it cook just a few minutes to incorporate the paste all over everything. Don't worry about cooking out the tartness, really, because this is going to cook for long enough that it won't matter. Now is when we add in about half a bottle of Chianti. Don't worry about reducing it or cooking out the alcohol. You can follow it up straight away with the vegetable stock. Other stocks are fine too, or no stock. The choice is yours. I chose this point to season with a decent amount of salt and pepper. Don't be shy about the seasoning here. You don't want it to be bland in the end. Then add in the tomatoes. I went slowly here as to not splash all over my camera. I used about half of the tomatoes only because I was going to be transferring this to another vessel. If you're going to cook the whole thing on the stove like this, you can add in all the tomatoes if you want. And then I just brought this whole thing to a low simmer. Okay, so at this point, I've brought the liquid up to a simmer. It's just to help give it a head start in the oven. You could put everything cold in the pan and do it, it'll just take longer. So I'm gonna kill the heat on this. Let me get this thing out of here. The reason I'm not doing the whole thing in the pot on one of these portable burners is it gives off carbon monoxide. I'm not gonna have this thing burning for 3 hours straight in the house. Okay, so we just want to get these things covered with enough sauce. There we go. All right, so they're actually perfectly submerged. That's right where we want them. So I had about half of the tomatoes left, so 2 of those cans would have been just fine for this. But there's going to be a lot of extra sauce left at the end anyway. The sauce is not going to go to waste around here. I'll make it with meatballs, or I'll make it with different types of pasta dishes, so it's all good. At this point, we're going to wrap it, put it in the oven. I'm going to double wrap this just to be on the safe side. You want a nice tight seal on this. Alright, so it's going to go into a 375 degree oven for around 3 hours, give or take. About every hour though, you want to check them, make sure to move them around. You don't want everything sticking to the bottom. The last hour, we're going to pull back the foil a little bit on one side and let it vent just to let the sauce reduce. I'm not going to take the whole thing off because I don't want it bubbling everywhere and messing up the oven. And now we wait. All right, everyone, it has been 3 hours and they are ready. After 2 hours, I checked on them, making sure they weren't sticking. They were not sticking. Then I pulled the foil up a little bit over the corner just to let the sauce start to reduce. When I realized it wasn't going to bubble all over the place and mess the oven up, I took the foil off completely. That was about 30 minutes before it was done. By the way, I meant to tell you earlier, if you're going to do it very simplistically with just the tomatoes, the lamb, and salt and pepper, make sure to add onion powder, garlic powder, add some seasoning to it, add some spices. You definitely want some spices at that point. I don't know about you, but I can't wait any longer. I am ready for this. Those look amazing. They're absolutely fall off the bone. I could grab it by the meat and the meat will come right off. The sauce has reduced nicely. It's thickened up. In the bones themselves, there is bone marrow that has leached out into the sauce, which is definitely what we want. All the aromatics have added their flavor to the sauce. I'm going to take this off the cutting board and let's plate this up. Right at the end here, I do like to chop up some parsley, add it to it. Well, it's already starting to fall off the bone. Probably get a better picture of it if I turn it around there like that. And let's add a little bit more of the sauce on top. Let's finish it with the parsley. All right, now add a little bit of sauce on the side. There's going to be a lot of sauce left over. There's a lot of things you can use it for. This one is a bit thick. If you want, you can always put it through a food processor or a blender. You can puree it, make it nice and smooth. I like it a bit more rustic. That's me though. Do what you want. Let's try this. You got a knife? You don't even need a knife though. You should just be able to pull the meat right off the bone like that. Oh man. That's really hot. You can see the steam. The flavors have penetrated the lamb. Absolutely delicious. All you really need is some crusty bread to go with this. Dip in the sauce, have it with the lamb. You can have it with pasta. You can make a pizza with it. You could shred it up, do whatever you want. Make a sandwich later. Oh my goodness. Let's try it with the bread. Put the lamb on there. A little bit of the sauce. It's still really hot, so I gotta blow on it to cool it off. Oh man. When I was scooping the sauce into the dish, the whole cloves of garlic were nice and soft. I just stirred it up a little bit with the tongs, broke right apart. Nice and soft garlic. Amazing. For those of you who think you don't like lamb either, this may be the perfect way to have it. Yes, shanks are a little bit more gamey than other cuts, but the tomato sauce and all the aromatics cut through the gaminess and mellow it out a lot. This is really good. It's a good way to introduce yourself to lamb if you never had it before. Just look. The bone comes right off of it. Clean bone. Pure meat. Absolutely. Every time. This is the way to have it. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember, you can always watch my content on YouTube, Odyssey, and Rumble. Don't forget to give this video a like. You can do that right now. It really helps the algorithm. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. I got plenty more recipes to come. Thanks so much for watching. And remember, treat yourself right, cook yourself something good. Thanks so much, guys. Take care.